पहली बार मेरी लाइफ में नेटफ्लिक्स पे मेरा डब्बा और अक्षय कुमार का डब्बा एक साइज का डब्बा है.
I know.
Stand up comedians took a wave from indie musicians in Mumbai, and influencers took a wave from stand up comedians. एल्गोरिथम के लिए मैं बनाएगा दिमाग का घंटा.
Hi Veerdas, so nice to have you on my channel for the first time ever, dude.
What's up? How are you? I'm very happy to be here. That's it.
I'm good, life's good. And I am now splitting my time between Mumbai and Washington DC, which is a special city for you. So please let me
Yes.
know if you are another stone throw away. I'm from a stone throw away from Kennedy Center if you're returning for more FIR inducing shows.
I am returning for hopefully less FIR-inducing shows, but to the bigger room at the Kennedy Center in January. So yeah,
Awesome. So January you're doing New York, but you're also doing Washington DC. You're doing Carnegie Hall.
I'll do I think 10 American cities. So yeah, New York, Kennedy Center, a bunch of other kind of iconic venues, I think.
Amazing. All right. So before I start questioning you, I have to say this. Now that I am at a point in my career where I'm also seeing a little bit of Indian side of things, American side of things, how things work here and how things work in India. And it's given me obviously a different perspective towards being an entertainment journalist. And I
Yeah.
found this newfound kind of, no, newfound is kind of, simplifying it too much, but I've critiqued your work before. And most of
Yeah.
it has been your work in cinema, and most of it has not been favorable critiquing. But
Yeah.
when I take a pause now, like when this interview got confirmed with your team, I think back to the first time I saw you professionally do your thing. You were doing news comedy on TV back in
Yeah.
the day, like God knows when that was. And I think
Yeah.
about it now, what that gave me and what that gave my whole generation, that we can do this in India also, that these thoughts that I have in my head, they're all rooted in India. They're very Indian thoughts, but they're shaped to a huge extent by American pop culture. Friends and
Yeah.
Seinfeld and, those kind of shows. And it's legitimate to have these thoughts in my head. So like I saw somebody on TV who was talking this new language I was desperate to learn. And I'm getting that understanding now. It's not a question, it's something I wanted you to know, that your influence stretches beyond stand-up comedy. It umbrellas a whole generation of cultural commentators, and like I'm getting emotional even thinking about it right now. Do you have, now I'll come to my question, but do you have like a larger understanding of what that has given to a generation of people who are not just stand-up comics?
I know. I have no conception of it at all, and I think it's, and I don't say that to sound facetious or like kind of
Yeah.
tropey. I wouldn't allow myself the exploration of that. That's not in my nature. To allow myself the acknowledgement of that. By the way, a guy's gonna pass by with a laundry basket. Right? That's your wish.
That's all
Say
right.
hello to Sucharita.
Hello.
So I wouldn't allow myself that simply because there's too much shit to do, and I fortunately or unfortunately, the audience that I have keeps getting younger and younger and younger. Now I cannot explain why. All right, and a large point of it has to do with 10 on 10 videos in the last special, etc., etc. But 80% of my audience right now is between the age of 18 and like 28 years old.
That's
Which is
brilliant.
a weird place to be as somebody who's 40, right? So it's a weird place to be, and they keep you very grounded because this is a generation that can smell bullshit a mile away. They can smell marketing, they can smell copyright, they can smell all of that stuff a mile
Terrifying.
away.
Terrifying.
Right. And so they have evolved stand up into this thing where you have no option but to be yourself. Right. So rather than celebrating who the hell you are to other people,
Yeah.
you're super worried about whether you're being able to access yourself in an honest and authentic manner. So that's what I stress about right now. Is this bit authentic, or is this bit real? Or is it coming across performative? And that's by virtue of, so this fan base keeps you damn grounded here. I think.
One can argue that you started an English language stand-up comedy scene in India. Of course, there were performers before that.
That's all like, yeah, maybe not, but a bunch of us did, I think is the best way to,
But then you also attempted news comedy on
Yeah.
TV. You
Yeah.
had a comedy collective before anyone had a comedy collective with Weird Ass. You were the first Indian comic, if I'm not mistaken, to appear on late night shows in America, as
Yeah.
a first Indian comic.
Yeah,
First
yeah.
Indian comic with a Netflix special, closely followed by my girl, Aditi Vittal. But you were the first.
Yes.
Now you want to be the first one to do a cricket stadium. Do you think in
Yeah.
your professional career, Veer, you'll ever reach a point where you're not constantly tasked with being the first? Because I can't imagine how exhausting that is.
It's not exhausting, yeah, but it's navigation, right? At the end of the day. So would I like somebody to give me advice on how it's done? Would I love somebody to be like, yo, here's the roadmap and here's kind of how you need to do it? Absolutely. I would love that.
Yeah.
Right. But unfortunately, I haven't been brought up in that ecosystem and I don't have that. Right. Which is not to say that I cannot learn
Yeah.
from a Chappelle or from an Amy Schumer or from, in terms of how they've navigated stuff. And it's slowly becoming less and less different, the navigation path. At least from I won't say from a logistical standpoint, but from an artistic standpoint, they're becoming less and less different to navigate these things. So, yeah, do I want to do a cricket stadium? Absolutely. Is there a comedian who can tell me how to play Yankee Stadium? Possibly. Is there a comedian who can tell me how to get to Wankhede? There's not a damn one. But can I learn from the Yankee Stadium guy 5 things? Yeah, sure. You know, I think that's the way I look at it.
Please, can you tell our viewers a little bit about the dreams that have inspired these gigantic ideas? So you get these really vivid dreams where you see your sets and then you want to bring that to real life, and that's what has happened with this cricket stadium as well,
You see,
right? Please.
you're making it sound like narcissistic personality disorder. It's
No,
not
no,
that.
no. I am very curious to know on a very basic, like, psychological level. Like, you see dreams and then you bring them to reality, like, quite literally.
I dream cinematic. So I dream with soundtrack and shot taking and editing.
I love
Right? This is my dream. So it's very good actually. It's very good to watch and उठने का मन नहीं करता है and all that stuff. Right?
it.
तो अच्छा picture है. At least जो मेरे दिमाग में है, वो बहुत अच्छा picture जो निकलता है, that is debatable, right? But I had a dream and I was in a big cricket stadium and I was just in the center and it was 360-degree audience. The audience was silent. So it wasn't like applause or any sort of fanfare. They were absolutely silent. And I was about to say my first joke. And I woke up. And the
Hilarious.
thought was, can I make people feel with stand-up comedy how they feel when India wins a cricket match? Now, that's a very specific feeling, right? I've only ever come kind of close to it with a special called Veerdas for India, right? Where at least I sent people home with like a warm fuzzy,
Yeah.
which was a good this thing. And to me, the ultimate definition of warm fuzzy is when India wins a cricket match
Yeah.
at a home stadium. So I was like, can I mass orchestrate that feeling with one microphone and a guy? So it's not a dream, it's really a test, to see if my art form can also handle it along with me.
Have you found a stadium that you would like to do this at?
Yeah.
Okay, you're not at liberty to disclose that yet, I assume.
No, no.
Now, we've seen your career evolve over many kind of, it's not just stand-up comedy. There's
Yeah.
also acting, there's music, there's television, there's hosting, all that kind of stuff. From seeing you perform in Mumbai back in the day when your jokes were about your girlfriend who became your wife, and then, history of India, and now scrounging for tickets to go see you at NCPA, like literally calling people extra ticket hai, and I found an extra ticket and I came to see you. You're making people laugh, but you're also making them cry in the same show, and then
Yeah.
you're making them laugh again. There is a
Yeah.
new level of honesty that's come into your work. Now, where is that honesty
Yeah.
coming from, Veer? Is it just life experience of growing older, or is it like some sort of like a hurt that the powers that be have tried to pull you down over and over again, unsuccessfully, but they've tried?
I don't think there are any powers that we have tried to pull me down. I think I've had ebbs and flows like any artist does, right? And there is a period of time where they want a selfie, and then there's a period of time when they don't want a selfie, and then your tickets sell out in 6 minutes. And I'm fully conscious of the fact that we are crashing Book My Show today, but maybe 5 years from now it will be empty on Book My Show. Who the hell knows? Anything's possible. I've been through enough ups and downs. What you realize is the only thing that stays constant is your ability to articulate who you are at that flashpoint in time. That's really the only thing you can rely on, right? The wonderful thing that I figured out about my profession, and this is about 4 or 5 years ago,
Ji.
is that there's no middlemen, right, between me and an audience. If pick an actor you like, if Siddhant Chaturvedi wants to articulate the happiest part of his personality or the sexiest part of his ego or the darkest part of his art, there are 17 guys that are in the middle of him and you in the audience that allow him to articulate that part, right? And at some point I kind of sat back and I'm like, here's this gigantic audience,
Yeah.
and there's nobody in the middle between me and them. There's not a damn person, right? So now why would I use that direct connection to articulate only one thing
Yeah.
when I've got a direct connection, right?
Yeah.
So I can use it to articulate sadness, all the dark parts of me, or the silly parts of me, or the vulgar parts of me as well. And hopefully they're patient enough to let me do all of that stuff. when that kind of turned for me, I'm like, oh, you go from the ego of wanting to conquer all people to saying, here are my people, and how can I innovate and continually surprise my people? Then kind of an artistic switch goes off in your head. And you're like, okay, now let's really start taking risks with this.
So, are you still continuing to tell your own story through your stand up, or has it now evolved into how a filmmaker takes a story and then tells it to the audience? They're talking about a larger concept or a larger concern that they might have as a filmmaker, storyteller, while they still have a director's signature. They're still on some level, like, telling it in their own way. So, are you still telling stories from your own life specifically, or do you have a
Yeah,
larger
for sure.
concern?
I'm not saying anything that's not lived at the end of the day because it wouldn't be authentic, right? And then this generation, to for damn sure would smell it, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't authentic. Am I taking what I've learned from filmmakers and saying that there is a 3 act structure to my stand-up comedy special? There definitely is.
Nice.
Am I proud of the fact that if you take my 4 specials and you put them next to each other, they're not same guy, different suit, larger stadium. They're
Yes.
thematically very different pieces of comedy. One intercuts between India and New York. One is entirely about Indian nostalgia. One is a pandemic special. Landing is about a crisis and an existential kind of a landing into the country. So I think they are cinematic pieces because they have to compete with cinematic pieces,
Right.
on a Netflix. So, but I've said this in interviews before, but Sucharita, how long have I waited for this, man? पहली बार मेरी लाइफ में नेटफ्लिक्स पे मेरा डब्बा और अक्षय कुमार का डब्बा एक साइज का डब्बा है
I know.
like
So,
ऐसा
Namaste
इसमें
London to this, bro.
सो आई एम सेइंग मेरे को स्टैंडी लगाने की जरूरत नहीं है मेरे को आई डोंट नीड टू नो द ओनर ऑफ आरसीटी मॉल टू गेट मॉर्निंग शो लेट शो एटसेट्रा 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 मेरा डब्बा और अक्षय कुमार का डब्बा एक साइज का डब्बा है
Huh.
and all I have to do is capture your attention and in a show where I get to make you laugh every 16 seconds which a movie may not I have a decent shot at capturing your attention you
पर
know
आपका डब्बा अक्षय कुमार के साथ भी है और आपका डब्बा जॉन मुलेनी के साथ भी है, आपका डब्बा सारा सिल्वरमैन के साथ भी है, चेल्सी हैंडलर के साथ
जी
भी है. What is your competition now? Are you looking only at America and like making your mark here, or are you still competing with Bollywood, you feel, in India?
It's a mix of both. And I don't think the thing with not being a part of any bubble is there's no attainable milestone in either bubble because
Huh.
no milestone of success applies at the end
Correct.
of the day.
Correct.
So if an American comic dreams of playing Carnegie Hall, sure, I'm playing Carnegie Hall. Right, but if an Indian comic dreams of being in a Bollywood movie or a Hindi movie, I start a Hindi movie in September. Right, so but you'll never be fully eaten by the bubble, if that makes sense. America is an older stand-up comedy market. It's undeniable, right? England is an older stand-up comedy market. It's undeniable in the traditional, in the modern form of stand-up. Not to say we haven't had Behrupias and Hasikavis and all of that stuff,
Yeah.
right? So, do I want to get to the level of craft where a Chappelle is? Do I want to get to the level of craft where a Chris Rock is? Because they're 30, 35 years in and I'm 16 years in?
Yeah.
For sure, I do. And, so it's not competition, it's just destination.
Are you
You know,
friends with Conan O'Brien? I just wanted to know.
yeah, little bit. He's a good guy. He's had me on 3 different things, and he's just championed a lot of like different comedy voices over
Yeah.
the years.
I remember one line of Conan O'Brien that kind of changed my life. I was like 16 or 17 years old when that whole Jay Leno thing happened, when Jay Leno, he got the show and then he didn't get the show and then he was thrown out of
Yeah,
the show again. And then he was doing his last show and he's like, if you're honest and if you work hard, good things
yeah,
will happen. And I didn't even know who Conan O'Brien was back in the day properly. And then like kind of changed my life. There's an excellent 2-year-old article by Aditya Mani Jha on Dead Ant when comedy turned 10 in India, that kind of thing.
mhm,
And it lays out the basics of the evolutions of your style of stand-up comedy, that whole scene, and it reads like a Netflix true crime thriller. There's like jail time, there's crores of rupees exchanging hands. Now, individual careers have flourished in India, right? There's Zakir and Sumukhi and these
yeah.
kind of performers. Do you see us there's still a scene left in Bombay or in India at large?
I can't answer that question without acknowledging a ridiculous amount of privilege. You know what I mean? Where I'm not really actively part of the ground scene in India anymore, right?
Yeah.
If I want to pop into a club, they're happy to have me. I'm happy to have them. But I don't know what it's like for the average comic gigging 3 nights a week in Mumbai. I can't claim to, speak to that lifestyle. Do I feel like there could be more venues? Absolutely. Do I feel like there was more of a culture around it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't mean free consumption of reels and free consumption of YouTube videos. What's the destination? You're in America right now.
Yeah.
Every small town in America has one local comedy club, right? At the end of the day, one improv, one laugh, something,
Every
chuckle
night,
bucket,
something or the other.
something or the other, right? And it is culture. Like you have a local sports bar, like you have a local Zumba studio, you have a local comedy club, and you go there once every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, right? That's where we need to head. In B&C cities as well, a local comedy club where it's culture.
Yeah.
You know,
That's where it was for a very brief bit, when you could
yeah,
find in Mumbai local dive bars hosting at least improv, not improv, open mic nights where people would come.
yeah.
I find that missing a lot. But coming to my next question, what is your relationship with social media like now? There's, people are content creators, weird term, but those content creators
Yeah.
have a cult like following, Veer. Like, and they are making money that it's taken people like you and your contemporaries years to get to a point where you can charge that kind of money. The content creator has sprung up in the last 2 years and is making that kind of money with decidedly below average talent. What is your relationship with social media right now like?
I do many inexplicable things that a lot of social media agencies call me up and tell me, should be better graphic designed and should be more thought out, etc., etc. They seem to work and we're okay. You know what I mean? And then they get very pissed off that they've worked and they're not well graphic designed and it's largely just me typing on my phone, but it's real.
Yeah.
This is going to sound pretentious, but I truly do believe this. Stand-up comedians took a wave from indie musicians in Mumbai,
Uh-huh.
and influencers took a wave from stand-up comedians, and content creators will take that wave from influencers. And this whole thing of whoever has a fan base will continue to change to somebody else every 3 or 5 years. So at some point, Bingo Chips is like indie rock, and then 3 years later, Bingo Chips is like stand-up comedy, and then 3 years later, Bingo Chips is like
Influencer
influencers, and
marketing.
Bingo Chips will continue to change their mind, right? Do you have a fan base or do you have an audience? It's really that simple. And this is the only thing I've figured out with my experience is that a fan base outgrows you like you fucking cannot believe, and an audience grows with you. So if you start treating your fans like an audience, you'll continue to keep trying to surprise them. You'll keep it real. You start thinking about other things like
Yeah.
what is their experience when they come and see your show. Have you been honest? Is the pricing fair? Have you done enough time? Or have you done 45 minutes? Or have you done an hour 45 minutes? And you kind of start to put them first.
Yeah.
And then that changes everything.
Do you feel the pressure to create content, but to create
Yeah.
content for social media? Do you feel that pressure?
Can I cuss? I can cuss on this thing, no?
Of course, yeah.
Or can I?
Please.
Fuck no. No chance. I'm not. दिमाग खराब है. Fucking algorithm के लिए मैं बनाएगा. दिमाग का घंटा. Listen, बहुत मेहनत किया है. 33 countries में आएगा public. अब
बहुत
उनको
बढ़िया.
देखने के लिए. My content costs money. You have to buy a ticket. You have to compete for that ticket. And when you get that ticket, I'll send you home flying on a goddamn cloud. That is my experience that I guarantee you. But fuck the algorithm at this point. You're not getting it for free.
Well, on that note, I'm going to come see you in Washington, D.C. in January. I'm also going to come see you at Carnegie. I'm going to try my absolute best to meet you when you're here this side of the world. Thank you for your time, Veer. And my heart just sings to see you soar. I'm so happy.
I'll see you soon. Take care. All right.
Bye, Veer.